and welcome. Nice to have you with us on a Thursday afternoon, the 12th day of April, the year 2017, as we commence a broadcast day here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Good to have you aboard here with Eddie Erickson and Colin Schmeling and a great Sirius XM 82, right up until 6 in the East, 3 in the West, as we chat. 888 Mad Dog 6, 2A, Sports Talk telephone number here on this late mid-spring day. Feels a little bit more like spring in the Northeast. A little warmer today. Decent couple days ahead of us as we try to get out of the doldrums of the wintertime, as we talked about what's cooking as far as the world of competition is concerned. A little NHL later on today. We'll do a little of the brawl action later on today. Some baseball issues with Colorado and San Diego, and of course the Yankees and the Red Sox. We'll spend some time on that in the course of our afternoon, I promise you there. And obviously we'll spend a few minutes here to start the program off on the NBA. Next 2 days, we'll sort of do a little mixture of a little of this and a little of that. And then, of course, we'll get you set for the postseasons in both sports in the wintertime and the baseball mid-April. And the draft is ahead, not too far off. So a busy time of the year as far as the world of talk radio is concerned and the world of sports. And we will be all over it here in the next whatever it might be. Okay, let's start with the happenings last night in the association. Sound like ESPN, and the association's happenings was in Minnesota, where the T-Wolves were very fortunate to beat Denver in overtime to get themselves into the postseason for the first time in a long time, and a series with the Rockets. They led throughout this game. They really led from the late first quarter on. They were had an advantage at the half. They were ahead in the third quarter. They were basically right around a 9-point lead, 7-point lead, 86-81, that kind of thing. And Denver made shots. Murray played very well. The big center is very good. Excellent passer. He had 35 points for the Nuggets. They really, hung in there, and they actually had a possession with the ball. I can count them again. I would probably say 3 times, if not 4, with the lead. In the last minute and a half of that game with a 1-point lead, and they were not able to get that basket that would have put Minnesota really behind the 8 ball at the Target Center. And as a result, Minnesota got a tie. They both had some chances at the end to win. Obviously, Denver had last possession at the end of regulation. A couple of seconds to go. Good job by Taj Gibson. He played good defense on the big center. And as it turns out, Minnesota makes the postseason with a good record, 47-35. Denver goes 46-36, and what was a pretty good game, a game that somehow the NBA almost let slip as far as their television coverage is concerned. Late yesterday afternoon, or middle of the afternoon yesterday, they decided to put it on NBA TV. It's amazing they took that long to figure it out. ESPN, which obviously wants to show you Philly, because Philly's the trendy team right now. They got a little personality, and they don't want to do their league justice. They show you Bucs-Sixers when the Bucs had absolutely no interest in participating, which is a real bad sign for the NBA, is the fact that Milwaukee, a young team, had really zero interest in really even getting involved in a game yesterday against Philly. The Sixers needed the game to be the 3 seed. The Bucs were, they very well could have been the 6 seed if they had gone out there and been, participated. But because I guess Milwaukee feels there's no difference between being a 6, 7, or an 8, could care less about the game, and as a result, ESPN was stuck with the dog, and NBA TV got the Minnesota-Denver game, which again was a good game. Both teams had struggling offensively. I didn't like the sets, not that I'm a coach, but I certainly didn't like the play calling of Thibodeau, who's not a great offensive coach anyway. I don't love the play calling of the Thibodeau late in that game. They had Wiggins never touched the ball. They took a lot of bad shots, 4 shots. They had a 24-second violation. I did not like the sequence out of Minnesota late in that game from an offensive standpoint. They play very good defense, and you're going to have a tough time getting a good shot off against their defense in that kind of setting, and Denver found that out at the end of regulation when, again, 1 basket on any one of 3 to 4 trips. I can look it up if you're interested, but they really had a chance to win that game yesterday with a right 22nd possession with the ball, a good shot and a good basket. They did not really get that late in that game, and that has a lot to do with why Minnesota survived. They kind of won going away in overtime. They made some big free throws after they missed a couple of big ones in regulation. Wiggins made a couple. Butler, who scored 20-something points, who's back finally played 40-something minutes last night. He made a couple after he missed a couple. So the T-Wolves get the job done, and I'm glad they won because I wanted to see Minnesota against Houston in that first round. I think they'd be more dangerous for the Rockets than, say, San Antonio would have been. Remember, if Denver would have won last night, they would have been the let's see, if they won, I believe San Antonio would play Houston and Denver would have played Golden State because Denver won the season series against the Spurs, and the Nuggets would have played the Warriors and San Antonio would have played Houston. I much preferred Minnesota. I think they're much more of a threat. I think they're dangerous. I think they can go out there and give Houston. I know I don't believe in Houston, as you guys know. We're going to find out, not necessarily in the first round, but in the majority of this postseason, we're going to find out about the Rockets and what they're made of in their gut in big spots, Harden especially, and whether they can make a stand defensively with seasons on the line, something they've never been able to do. We will find that out about the Rockets in the course of the next 6 weeks of what they can do. Anyway, I'm glad Minnesota won a game because I do like the matchup with Towns and Butler and Wiggins. There's some firepower there. They're going to play good defense. They'll figure out a way to slow Harden down, and at least maybe they can challenge the Rockets. I don't like the Spurs right now against Golden State at all. So from that perspective, I didn't like Golden State Denver either. So I'm going to basically, throw a white flag with that series, and at least maybe we'll get a halfway decent 1-8, and away we go here as far as the postseason is concerned. In the East, what occurred. Of course, the Wizards end up with the 8th seed. They will play Toronto. Toronto played hard last night, lost in overtime in Miami when they had nothing to play for except for win number 60. They are the 1-8 series there. The Heat get the 7 spot. They will end up playing the the Bucks will be the 7th spot. They get the Celtics, and the Heat will get the 76ers. It's funny right now. They might as well do away with divisional play. It means nothing if you win a division. It's all about record. Yet they put these teams in the division, which to me it doesn't make any sense. If you're not going to get anything out of winning a division, why do you have a divisional thing? Portland made a big deal about winning a division last night, but in essence, what did it mean? They didn't get an advanced seed because they won a division, and Miami won their division, and as a result, they didn't get any advanced seeds. So they dropped all the way to number 6, despite the fact they won their division. In the old days, they may have not gotten home court, but they could have been a 3 seed from that standpoint. So the matchups in this first round, and we're going to go through the scenarios of the postseason with Jeff Van Gundy here in a minute, with Rockets and T-Wolves, Thunder and Jazz, Warriors and Spurs, and the Thunder and Jazz, Warriors and the Spurs, with the Rockets and the T-Wolves. There's a lot of things that we have that we like. Trailblazers and the Pelicans in the East, with Washington, Toronto, and away we go with Milwaukee and the Celtics. Toronto, number 1 seed, Celtics number 2, Cleveland, Indiana, and the last matchup there is Miami and the 76ers. I like the way they did the TV this weekend. We'll get your calls in here in this hour on that. The Saturday lineup, if you didn't hear it, I kind of like the Saturday lineup. Now, the weather's going to be good in the East Coast, so I don't know how many people are going to sit around and get to a television set Saturday at 3 o'clock. But if you do, you're going to get Golden State, Indiana. So Indiana, Cleveland will kick off the postseason on Saturday at, I think that game is at 3:30 Saturday in Cleveland, ABC. I'm sorry, that is Sunday. The Saturday game is the Golden State. That's what I thought. Saturday is Golden State and the Spurs. That will start high at noon in San Francisco. San Antonio and Golden State will play Saturday at 3 o'clock. The second game Saturday will be Toronto and Washington, and that game will be at 5:30. So Cleveland, Indiana, Golden State, San Antonio at 3, and then the Toronto-Washington game at 3:30. The primetime game at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. It's going to be the 76ers. That game's going to be on ESPN. They're going to try to jazz up Philly. Simmons, Embiid, big market, something different. They're really going to try to jazz the Sixers up. They will be the 8 o'clock game. Then Portland and New Orleans will be at 10:30 from Portland. That's the Saturday lineup. Starts at 3:30 right up until midnight, 1 a.m. The Sunday lineup, I like, is a little different. First off, it starts earlier. Milwaukee will play out Boston at 1. The 3:30 game Sunday is the Cavs and the Pacers on ABC. And then later on, the two games are pretty good. Utah will play OKC. That game will begin at 6:30 on TNT. And then the later game at 9 will be the Rockets and the T-Wolves. So I like that late doubleheader on Sunday. So, you figure they're going to anchor the afternoon coverage both days with the two best teams, the Warriors and the Cavs. They're going to give you Curry if he plays, Durant, the defending champs. That's going to be the Saturday 3. That's the ABC game, by the way, on Saturday at 3 o'clock. And then they're going to come right back at you with ABC on Sunday with Indiana, Cleveland in the 4 or 5 series. So, and of course, anchored by the late night games, Portland will host the first late night game against the Pelicans. Utah late on Sunday, 14 after the hour. Jeff Van Gundy in a sec. We'll get a little post feel of what he sees here in his postseason. We continue here on Mad Dog.